card to show you that uses the new striplet die as a background. And then we're going to die cut through it and recess the dies downwards for a really interesting look. The dies we'll be using today are the St. Kitts from the Caribbean collection. The Regal Striplet will form our background. And I'll be using the classic Adorned rectangles from the Noble collection just for the sentiment in the middle. And that sentiment is part of the delightful sentiment set from Creative Expressions. So I've gone ahead and done a little bit of die cutting already and cut the striplet twice. We're going to do it a third time to complete the pattern. Now the striplet comes in two parts, so I'm just going to use the decorative insert for this. And let's line this up and put a little tape in place to hold it. Get that nice and straight as we can. Put a couple pieces of tape on there. And let's bring over our cutting plates. And we'll run it through the grand caliper. It's got a bit of detail, so I think what I'll do is just go forward and back. It's beautiful in its detail. I just love this, and I know you get so many different uses out of it. That's done the job. So let's take out our little bits. I'll just roll it with our tool-in-one. Put that back. So you can see what a pretty background this makes. Let's get these last little bits out of here with our pokey tool. That looks lovely. And let's just get rid of these so they're out of our way. So you can see just how beautiful a background that makes. Now I'm going to put a little bit of a blue card behind that, just so the color will come through and give you a really nice color for our card. So let's put some glue on the back. And we'll just put it all the way around the edge here. And a little down the center too. Just glue this into place. Get that as straight as we can. Give it a second. So you can see just how pretty that is. So now I'm just going to take the outside cutting edge from the St. Kitts and lay this in place in the center of the background. Just make sure it's nice and straight. Use a little bit of the design top and bottom to kind of get it where it looks like it's nice and even. I think that's about right. Tape it into place, and we'll run this one through the grand caliper. So don't forget, your backgrounds don't have to be just flat backgrounds. You can always take pieces out of the center. You can layer them up, go inward like we're doing on this card. So many different options. So this just needs to pop right out of there. Okay, I'm going to take that off and put it back. So now I have a beautiful aperture, and I'm still going to use this piece to cut down a little further. So we're going to pick this up with the next size down in the die cut. Lay this in the center, doing the same exact thing, just making sure it's nice and straight. There we go. We're going to cut this piece out now. One pass should do it with this one. Okay, there we go. Oops, take my tape off carefully. Okay, that needs a tiny bit of glue, but I do have one I'm going to use, so we'll just pop over to that. So next thing what you're going to do is add some mounting foam. So because we're doing a descending, a recess die, I've got the most amount of mounting foam on this piece here. And I've layered it up, so there's 3 layers on this, 2 on the middle, and then the bottom one's just the single. Pop this down. And I've just used a piece of milk colored card on the bottom here. Let's take that out first. Make sure we're good and straight. Giving a nice little border all the way around that edge. Okay, there we go. So our next one here has a little bit less of the mounting foam on the background, so it will stair step down nicely. Peel these off. Okay, oops. That will fit right down into the exact shape it came out of. Just give it a little press. I like to put my fingernail underneath it and lift just to make sure it's good and secure all the way around. Okay, and then this base one I'm just going to glue into place. There we go. So you can see how the pattern just continues on down into the center of that die cut. So pretty. It's almost like a little bit of an optical illusion. I really love the way that looks. So now we've got the base of the card done. So it gives your eye something to follow down into the center, which is where we're going to put our sentiment. So I've gone ahead and stamped that. I'm just using the You're Wonderful off of the clear set, and we're going to cut it out with the center from the Noble die here. I'm just going to use this little oval and center that around my words. And let's put just a tiny little piece on the upside there. Okay. And bring back our cutting plate, and we'll get this all cut. So much easier if you'll stamp your words and then put the dies over it. It just makes it easier to line up. Then you don't have to worry about stamping crooked. And I'm going to do a tiny bit of inking. We'll bring in some antique linen around the edge of that. So let me just seat that back inside of there. There we go. A little bit of cut and dry foam. I'm going to hold that die down and just ink around the edge there. It's a very subtle look. I like the tone on tone colors. It doesn't even look like you're using much ink on it, but it will show up when we remove it from the die cut. There we go. You can see how pretty that is. Now for me, I wanted to tie in a little bit of the gold that I had put into the sentiment here and into the background of my card with a mat. So what I decided to do was to just make a little faux nesty. Now a faux nesty is just this. I've taken that same exact die that I cut out the sentiment with, and I've drawn around the outside of that. And what that allows me to do is just to hand cut that. So I have just a tiny little extra bit around that sentiment. Let me show you. There is another die in that set, but it is a little bit larger, so I didn't want it to be quite so big. Just a hint showing. There we go. Make sure that's nice and straight. So that works just perfectly for the job. I really like that. And we'll pop that into the center. There we go. Now, I went ahead and did a base for my card because I always feel like a card needs a little bit around its edges. So let me go ahead and put this into place, and then I'll show you how I did that. Just use a little glue in the middle here. So once you have the size of your card, you can cut a piece that's a little bit larger and bring in the Cosmic Shimmer PVA glues. Now this one is the ivory that I'll be using to match my milk colored card. These glues come in a multitude of colors, so you can get them to match just about everything. So the only thing you want to do is I like to get a piece of scrap paper and just make sure it's flowing nicely before I take it to my card. Make sure there's no air bubbles or any little bit of dried glue in the tip there. Once I'm sure that that's okay, then I go over to my card and just drip them off the tip of this, and it will form a natural size pearl. And just go along. If you're unsure about your spacing, what you can do is you can actually take and put little ruler marks with a pencil, put your glue dots right on top of that, or you can just do like I do and eyeball it as I go along, and you keep the same amount of pressure on each of those dots, pulling up as you go and waiting till it strings away to move the nozzle. Now, the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to touch that tip to your card. Do you see how flat those are? Completely different look to that. Just make sure it comes off the nozzle and you pull away, and it will form perfectly round spheres for you every single time. And you can do these in larger sizes if you like them bigger. Add a little more glue. If you want just a little ditty one, you can do that, a medium, a little bit bigger. You can make them whatever size you like. It's a beautiful product. I love using it. Now these you'll have to set aside, let them dry. I always let mine dry overnight, and then I assemble the rest of my card. So you can do a whole bunch of these ahead of time and just make your cards to match. It's really, really lovely product. They come in mattes and pearls and glittery versions, all sorts of different things. But there you have it. I've added a couple regular little cream pearls to my card to kind of accentuate that die cut. I think that's really stunning myself, and it's just such a simple card to make. You could use it for any occasion, especially when you're in need of a quick fix. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video and you'll come and join us again soon.